Hey everyone, welcome back to Strong Hands Reborn Dad. My name is Odie, and thanks so much for joining me now on our third video. And I really do appreciate all of you who've already shown me so much support and appreciation for me making this channel. I know what you're seeing right now if you're new to the channel, which you probably are, because we're only on our third video now. This probably looks interesting to you at the very least, and the title probably made you want to click and at least see what we're doing here. And yeah, so let me start out. My name is Odie. I am a reborn dad doll collector, as it's known in the community. I appreciate the art and realism of these reborn babies. This one here, right now, I'm still fairly new in my collection. This is Olivia. The sculpt name is actually Little Livy, and this is an Ashton Drake collection doll. And for right now with the budget, it's what I can afford. I've already been talking to the missus, who is fully supportive of my hobby and interests, that we're looking at doing a little upgrade because I want to show you guys the kind of art that is out there and help elevate the message and just show you guys the level of realism that's out there that I don't have yet, but does exist. And I'm working on that right now. So hopefully I'll have more news to come on that. But today's video, why would a guy want to collect reborn dolls? Especially anyone who's known me, you'd never know it. I've got a background in broadcasting. I love IT. I'm a guy. I watch football on Sundays. I like to have a beer every now and then. I've got a wife. I got an 8-year-old kid. So why would I want to collect these, right? There's many other things that, the world as a whole would say that's fine. You go do that. Some guys go hunting as a hobby. Some guys collect cars. Some guys go to baseball games or really into sports. And why am I so different? I'm not telling you I'm wrong or anything like that, but why am I so different? And I think it's probably has a lot to do with how I was raised, the people I was around with growing up, and the kind of environment that I wanted to be in, that I seem to fit better into. And I, like a lot of people, struggle with anxiety and mental health. And in fact, in my younger years, it was way more severe. And so I want to tell you guys a story, at least how I came to reborn dolls and found kind of a comforting, grounding feeling in them, especially holding one. You can see this video. I've got the lights nice and dim. I'm blessed. Down in our den, we have every light can be controlled individually, and we can have all the colors in the rainbow. And so this one, I created this one because it feels soft. It feels comforting, but it gives enough lighting so you on camera can still see me. So yeah, let's just talk about a few reasons why guys might want to collect reborn dolls, and then I'll tell you my specific reason and how I got into it. So some guys might want to because believe it or not, there's guys who really actually like being around little kids and babies, and they enjoy that. I sometimes struggle with the screaming portions. Been through it myself. Like I said, I have a kid of my own. I've certainly dealt with my share of screaming and all of those things, and yeah, it's not fun, but you do it because you love your kids, right? And with a reborn doll, some guys just think, I like the quiet part. Or maybe they had a kid and they miss their kid being the baby, right? And holding them at night. I know my kid, he's almost too big. I can put him in my lap, but it's getting more and more awkward every day. And so maybe some guys really appreciate that and really kind of want that back. Maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe there's a guy out there who lost a baby. Maybe them and their significant other, maybe they had a baby they were expecting and something happened, and maybe they found kind of like a memorial. I'm not saying that is. I haven't personally met anyone that's kind of like that, but in my mind, I could imagine a guy maybe having a reborn doll or collecting them because it reminds them or gives them a memorial for maybe a child that they may have lost. And so that could be a reason. I think, and it kind of ties into how I got into it. Um, Maybe, growing up they had dolls. Don't ever say never. I mean, you may not think about it, but maybe he had sisters. Maybe he had just wanted them himself. Maybe he had parents who let him, and it just kind of became the same way why a girl grows up to be a woman and then she collects it and it seems normal. Maybe that's kind of the case. You don't know, right? There's lots of different ways people kind of come into this. Um, but it just seems like men are way more quiet about it for obvious reasons because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of what I'm doing right now. They're afraid of what people might say or think or do. Um, and that's a very real, valid concern. I waited months. I've had this idea to create this channel for months now, and I finally decided, you know what? I'm getting old. I'm in my 30s. I'll just say that much. I don't really care what people think anymore. As long as my wife and my son and the people who matter most to me, um, don't have a problem with what I'm doing, and they don't. We've got boundaries. We have, things in place so that my wife knows that she's appreciated above these. My, she knows that my faith in Christ lives above this. This is only one aspect of me. Like I said, I would otherwise appear to anybody else like a normal guy. You would never know. Unless you came in my house and you saw them, you'd never know. And I don't want it to be in public. Like, I don't want to display it out when I'm not making these videos. I'm still the same guy you knew last week, those watching who know me. Um, it's just you didn't know about this. And I'm sharing it because I want, especially guys, but anybody who doesn't feel like, especially when it comes to mental health, because that ties in a lot to why I have these and why they mean so much to me in a hobby and what I look for in a reborn doll. Um, they just don't feel like they have permission to say anything. Maybe they feel like they have to keep it inside. They can't say anything. And so that's probably a lot of it. And some guys can just be soft, like soft in a good way, like soft because maybe they're not afraid to talk about their feelings. They're not afraid to talk about what hurts and the pain or maybe the trauma that they've had in the past. Maybe this is like their way of communicating that. Maybe this is their way of kind of releasing that tension, right? I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy who wants to talk about why I collect reborn dolls, talk about the collection part of it, talk about the mental health. And if this resonates with you, I'll just say, please follow. You're welcome here. Like, subscribe, and I'd like to start a community of like-minded people, especially meeting other men and guys who really enjoy the hobby. And so that's it. And so those are a few of the reasons why I think a man might want to collect a reborn doll. Um, I think you know maybe it wouldn't look so weird if it was a boy doll that I was holding, and I'm not opposed to getting a boy doll. In fact, one of the ones I'm looking at right now kind of goes both ways. You can actually it could pass as a boy or girl. It's not a gender specific one. I've kind of looked at that potentially. Uh, it's just what I found that I've liked happen to be girls. That's you know it's nothing personal. I just haven't found a boy doll that really compels me to feel like I'd want to have that in my collection yet. I haven't seen one yet. Um, but maybe a guy holding a boy doll, maybe that wouldn't seem quite so different to you. I don't know. Um, I'm a lot of this video. You notice this time I don't have papers in my hand because when I talk about especially me and my personal experiences, I can't write a script. I'm not going to. So forgive me if I ramble a little bit, but it's important for me to make sure that I'm communicating authentically to you. So I'm sure there's lots of other reasons that a guy might want to collect a reborn doll. Like I said, for me, it's kind of a multifaceted thing. First and foremost, I'm just drawn to the art. Um, it's like I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos. For me, when I look like on Facebook and I see one post that says, you know, here's our baby doing this, and then the next post is a picture, I sometimes have to look twice because the reborn dolls these days have gotten so good that it's almost impossible to tell in photos alone if that's a real baby or a reborn doll. Um, so yeah, it's just that level that somebody, an artist, was able to paint that level of detail, that level of skin tone that looks so real, and the way the painting is, the varnishing, the modeling. I can't say that word very well, but and the way that they do the powdering and all of that, and they get the skin to feel absolutely real. I think that's incredible. And a lot of these reborn dolls, like this one, this one's weighted. She weighs probably just under 6 pounds. She's got some glass beads inside of her, premium stuffing, like polyfill, that kind of, or is it called polyfill? Forgive me, I'm trying to remember the exact thing. I've got upstairs too, actually, because one of my sons, he had one that you could actually adjust the fluff in it, had a zipper in it, and you could just pull it down without having to undo the stitching. So you could kind of adjust the firmness to your liking. But you know, I think that's kind of, you know, one of the things that draws me is just that level of realism. And then when I have it, you know, I can kind of feel this doll's hair a little bit. It's not the best, you know, like the most realistic. It's not mohair, or I hope I'm saying that right. But you know, it feels pretty good enough, right? And this definitely is not a toy. This isn't one you want to give your kid. In fact, they even tell you this isn't intended for children under 14. So, you know, I take that. This one has a little bit more pinker skin than I think I would kind of like. But what I appreciate is the silicone portion. The fingers on here are really good. Um, I have another doll that is a full body silicone and feels even more real than this one. But because I didn't know at the time and I bought it from a brand that is known for um, making forgeries of other dolls. They basically take that artist's work and then they make it cheaper and sell it. Because of that concern, I'm not going to show it. So I didn't know it at the time, and now I'm obviously being more public. I want to be authentic to the craft and all that. So, but let me tell you kind of where it all started, and I'll try to be brief because I know no one wants to watch a super long video. But hopefully, some of this story that I have resonates with you. So, of course, you might imagine it started when I was a little kid. I must have been 5 or 6. I remember being at a babysitter's house. My parents had just split up when I was about 5 years old. My mother was working 2, sometimes even 3 jobs. And I didn't see her a whole lot. I spent a lot of time, even overnights, at sitters' houses. And I don't remember this sitter's name. I wish I did, because I can, in my mind, even that young, I can kind of, I have little flashbacks of the house that I was in. And I remember one day she caught me staring at a baby doll that was there because she had a daycare, right? And I was just one of many kids. She caught me staring at it and she's like, "Do you want to hold it?" And I said, "No." Because already, even at that age, I had been told or insinuated, dolls are for girls. Don't touch them. They're not for you. Leave them alone. You're a boy. You're not allowed to have that. You know, that's a girl toy. You know, go play with something else. And that's kind of had my mind. I was so embarrassed. I was like, nope. You can imagine a kid just not wanting to admit they're you know, actually do want to, but they say no because that's what they're told. That's what they're taught. That's what was insinuated. And she said, "It's okay. I'll even buy you one if you want." I'm like, I remember saying something to the effect of, "No, mom won't let me," or "Mom wouldn't like it," or something to that effect. And she's like, "I can talk to your mom." I'm like, "No," because I knew my mom at the time. My mom was very traditional. My whole family, frankly, especially where I come from, very traditional. Like, it's just not something you do, right? Boys are boys, boys do boy things, girls are girls, and girls do girl things, and dolls fall squarely into the things that girls do. And Therefore, that's what I was taught. But I was just drawn to it. Even though they were toys, I was drawn to it. And I don't know why. I don't have a good rhyme or reason for it. I just was. I remember um, one day I was at home. My mom was sleeping, which she always was. If I was at home with her, she was sleeping because she was working so much. As a kid, I had to have a lot of eye surgeries. You can see that I have eyesight issues, and as a kid, I had lots of different eye surgeries growing up. And back then, they were called pre-existing conditions, so they weren't always covered by insurance, which is kind of ironic because my mother worked in the insurance field pretty much all of her professional career. She worked in some way, shape, or form in the medical field, and it's kind of interesting. But yep, nope, she worked extra to pay for my glasses, even contacts, the surgeries, all of it, and got no help because, like I said, my folks had split. My dad was disabled, had moved on, married somebody else, so there wasn't exactly a lot of help coming from him, and I'm not mad at him for it. Just this is a fact. There wasn't a lot of financial help, and as a little kid, I didn't understand it. I just knew that pretty much every day, probably 5 to 6 days a week, I was at a sitter for at least some portion of the day. Sometimes every day of the week. Um, I can even remember on Saturdays, my mother would take a morning shift at a local McDonald's, and I would get to sit in the break room. I had a lot of pancakes. That was one of the only reasons I would come because I always got free food. Um, but yeah, and my mom, I love her to death, and God rest her soul. She's not with us now. She passed away about 10 years ago, and she just worked. That's what she did to care for me. I was an only child. I did not have really any siblings, other than a half brother who unfortunately I'm uh, haven't seen in a long, long time now at this point. And it you just do the only child things. Or when I was at a sitter's house, you play with some of the other kids, but you're not really that super close. And I remember being about, I guess maybe 7 or 8. I got kind of bored. One day I had this old teddy bear in my closet, and I found a pack of old pull-ups, like I kind of used to wear when I was still potty training. And I decided that I was going to dress this teddy bear up and I was going to put a diaper on it and have it around and all of that. Well, my my mother walked in on me playing with this teddy bear with the pull-up diaper on it. She grabbed the bear from me. She ripped the diaper off. She grabbed my hand and said, "No," you know. I'm sure my mom meant well. I still to this day I don't know why she reacted the way she did with it. But to me, as a kid, it seemed like I had just committed a mortal sin. Like what I was doing was very wrong, very bad. The pull-ups were gone in the garbage that same day, and yeah, she let me have let me keep the bear, but that no, you're not allowed to put a diaper on this teddy bear. And yeah, I guess I've just always kind of been drawn to that. Um, and that memory sticks in my mind. And so I repressed it for years, even though the other part of this story is, I mentioned that I had a disability, right? So I've always had eyesight issues. It's gotten better at some points in my life and worse at others, through surgeries and temporary fixes, that kind of thing. But as a kid, you can imagine being different, having a disability. Boys are mean. And even though I tried to have some friends that were boys as a kid, they were much more fewer and far between. But I remember there were a couple kids, girls, who I kind of grew up with. And one girl, I remember her first name is Hallie. And she and I would play just about every single day. And I was so happy every day when I got home from school after getting bullied, because she was raised in a very Christian home. I even got to go to church with her family sometimes, I remember. Didn't really get the whole Christian thing at the time. I was, again, at this point, maybe 8, maybe 9. but I was so happy that, hey, it wasn't even that, just the fact that she was a girl or whatever. It was just there was a kid who was actually nice to me and included me in things. And I didn't feel so isolated, because if I wasn't at the sitters, I was probably in my room listening to music, trying to pretend to be a radio DJ. I had a lot of times alone as a kid, and hanging out with Hallie was like the highlight of my day. It was the thing I always looked forward. So I didn't care what she wanted to do. I was just going to do it because she included me, and I felt, like welcomed. And I don't know where she is today. I honestly hadn't seen her since I think I came back to visit once when we were like 12. So I have no idea where she is today. But I still remember, and I remember that friendship. And yeah, that friendship involved, she was a girl. We did girl things sometimes, and I played along. Oh well. Um, some people could say, well, yeah, that softened you up, and that's why you are the way you are. And because your mom said you couldn't, you wanted to, and there was your opportunity, and so that's how you ended up. Maybe, but I'm not buying it. I think it's a little bit different than that. Um, and there was another girl too. She was also visually impaired. We went to a summer camp for kids with visual impairments, and I would hang out with her in the summertime, and her family was really welcoming and all that, and just the same, did whatever she wanted to do. And so my closest friends when I was little were girls, and maybe that's how I got into it, but I couldn't say anything outwardly. Certainly didn't tell my mom, the things. And we did a lot of normal kid things too. We would jump on the trampoline. I remember with Hallie, my favorite thing to do with her was play ping pong. The sitter had a ping pong table in their garage, and we would play ping pong, and or go swimming in the summertime, and those type of things. So it wasn't just that, but it was part of it. And it felt welcoming, it felt comforting. And then as a teenager, grew out of it a little bit, but it always kind of stuck with me. And maybe that's a portion of it. But I as an adult, it's not about trying to have my childhood back. It's not about having what I didn't have back then. It influenced it. I can't deny that, because I do look at these dolls, and they look very cute, and yes, some of them remind me of, the toys as a kid, and how they've made me feel back then, but it's not it entirely. Um, like I said too, when we had our son Junior as a baby, and I was so happy. My favorite moments with him as a baby was those quiet moments when he was just so deep in sleep, and the little snores that he did, the warmth, and my arm might have been sweating. He was such a hot box. I almost felt bad about keeping him swaddled because he was so hot. He always ran warm, but I loved the warmth, and I loved holding him, and it was so comforting. It helped me so much. Um, I have really bad anxiety. My brain does not know how to shut off. It just doesn't. I haven't been able to even go to sleep hardly without medication since I was like 15. I I I can be out in public all day long, and you would never know how bad my anxiety is in my mind. But at night, it comes out, and it's like it's fierce. And I can read my Bible, I can pray, and it helps. Like I know that there's long-term help for me, and I don't feel lost, but I just needed something else physical, especially as Junior got bigger, as the the things in life kind of kept getting harder and harder, and I kept craving simple things, something to help me put the phone down, something to just let me just be. And when I'm just being without the reborn doll in me, and I just sit and I try to clear my mind, I can't. Sometimes it's sitting in the dark for me that just makes my mind go absolutely crazy. But if I'm holding a reborn doll, like, and I'm not saying role playing, right? And I'm certainly not treating like a real baby, but if I'm absolutely just cradling it, looking at it, and letting my mind kind of go with that and drift off a little bit, it reminds me of those quiet moments with Junior. And I hope to have them back. My wife and I are certainly we're trying to have another baby. It's a lot harder now because I had a kidney transplant several years ago. And there's some complications now that are making it more difficult for us to have a baby the normal way, especially genetics and things like that. But that's why. So it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of that simpleness from when I was a kid, wanting something I couldn't have, now getting to have it, and finally finding that calm and that comfort kind of feeling. And I still have to take medication to help sleep, but the process of being able to go from taking the medicine to calming myself down, letting my mind actually get tired without constantly thoughts just fighting the tiredness, so to speak. If it's me just reading my Bible or a book, if I'm holding this and just kind of remembering that, it's just a tool. It's what I use. And I hope that resonates with you. Maybe it's something else for you entirely. But as a guy, it's not wrong for you to want those simple things, those simple comforts. It doesn't make you any less of a man. I don't feel like any less of a man. I don't feel like I'm any less of a man to God. I don't feel like I'm any less of a man to my wife, my kid. They know me. And if I need to be strong, if I need to either discipline or put things down, I will. And that is every bit of who I am. And this just helps me get the hard stuff in my mind. Let those thoughts just be. Let them go for just a little bit. And I hold the doll. It reminds me of, like I said, Junior being a baby. I look at it. Sometimes I'll rock, because I always am in a recliner. And that's just me. So I hope that resonates with you. I hope if it doesn't, at least you start to understand. I'm not some weird guy, right, who's doing this for some publicity. I'm not doing this because I want people to stare at me and say, look at him, he's the weirdo, or try to get the attention. I genuinely just want to even reach just one person, male or female, out there who gets this, who's never been told that this is okay. You're not sinful, you're not wrong, you're not doing anything wrong. This brings you comfort. If it's not interrupting your life or impacting what you need to do for your responsibilities like work, taking care of your family, doing all those other responsibilities, do it. Let it be. And don't worry what other people are going to think about you. I'm letting it go. And I'm going to make another video about what it's been like this first week now that people know this about me. And I'm going to try and make a video about that too. But for right now, I felt like the core of this channel, it was important for me at least to introduce more of myself and why these reborn dolls mean so much to me, why I collect them, why I'm going to keep collecting them, why they help me, and how maybe through this channel and hearing this message, they can help you. I really appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here on Strong Hands Reborn Dad. Goodbye, guys. God bless.